Hey guys, what's going on today? We are going to be talking about Wachuma, a tea made from the San Pedro cactus that is, well, it's psychedelic and it kind of has some magical properties to it. In this video, I'm going to be talking about an experience that I had down in Peru last week where I received miraculous healing. In this video, you're going to hear about what Huachuma and San Pedro are, why I went to Peru, what my intentions were, the miraculous healing that I received, and why I care so much about this. I hope you watch this to the very end, and let's just jump into the video. I am finally back from Peru. This is June 2nd that I'm recording this video. I just got back like 2 days ago, and honestly, I'm pretty tired. It was a great, amazing trip, best trip of my life. And on top of it, it was nonstop. We were getting up a lot of times at like 3 in the morning. Sometimes we were up till 5 in the morning. It was wild. Now, what I do want to talk about inside of this video is really, really important. It's not in the context of hair loss, all that kind of stuff, but it is in relationship with health. And that's a really important thing for me, and I think it's an important thing for you as well. So jumping into the topic of this video, you've already seen the title and you saw the introduction, right? Now, I just had an experience with Wachuma that actually completely changed my life. What I want to talk about is first, what is Wachuma? What is San Pedro? Why did it go and do this essentially? And what was the result and why was the result? So first off, let's talk about what Wachuma is. Wachuma is a tea that is actually made from the San Pedro cactus. This tea is hallucinogenic, it's psychedelic, it is what some people call an entheogen, helping you see the God within. The primary ingredient that people associate with the psychedelic properties of it is actually mescaline. Now, mescaline is different, quite different than ayahuasca in terms of the journey that's had. And if you go back a couple videos, maybe a couple months ago, you'll see that I went and did a couple ayahuasca ceremonies in Costa Rica, and that helped me in profound ways, really changed my life. Mescaline, the way that it feels, what it does is a lot different. A lot of people say it's a little bit more similar to LSD or even potentially psilocybin. After this experience, I'd say it's probably closer to psilocybin with my experiences. To me, the main difference here though is like ayahuasca, if you have done it, if you haven't done it, it can knock you on your ass. Like generally you're on a bed, on a cot, on the floor, and you're there for like 4 to 6, 8 hours, right? And you're on a very internal journey, and it's taking you through your past memories, what's going on inside your life, and asks you to heal a lot of this. It's an amazing medicine. San Pedro, mescaline, they actually call it kind of the grandfather. Now let's talk a little bit about the history of Wachuma, how it's been used, the history. It's really fascinating stuff, and I'm gonna put this screen grab up on top of the screen for you. So this is a very brief and concise explanation of what Wachuma is, but so the origins of them is first, it's from Peru and it's considered a sacred plant. And the use of the San Pedro cactus in Peru is traced back over 4,000 years. Okay, that's massive. Now the evidence can be seen on a stone carving that depicts a Wachumero. These are basically the shamans or healers, the curers, the curanderos that work with the medicine. So in Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador, there are still Wachumeros who lead Wachuma ceremonies for the same reasons their ancestors did: for prayer, communing with nature, gaining access to the spiritual world, expanding consciousness, and healing on physical, emotional, and spiritual levels. Now, people who have participated in Wachuma ceremonies have reported feeling inspired, having a spiritual or out-of-body experience, more creativity, experiencing a heart opening, healing of trauma, freedom of depression, PTSD, mood disorders, anxiety, chronic pain, and addictions. There are even claims of miracle healings with the use of Wachuma, sudden healing from chronic issues, cancer, infertility, and more. Now, I gotta be honest with you guys, the reason I'm making this video is actually about this last thing, about miracle healing. And listen, I'm a very logical person, but this is something that we need to talk about. So let's jump into the next portion. Now, this is an extremely heart-opening medicine, and it's something that, like, we honestly, during this trip, right, we were hiking. We went on a 12-mile hike. We hiked in Machu Picchu. We hiked up to a waterfall. We were extremely active most of the days that we participated in these ceremonies, and that was very different for me than ayahuasca ceremonies. Now, you might be asking, Jake, why are you doing this stuff? Like, why are you now getting into ayahuasca, San Pedro, all these different medicines? Well, the answer is short, guys. I'm tired of kind of being freaking broken I want to be a better human in every single way possible. And there have been things that I have been struggling with for really the past 10 years of my life, 15 years of my life, and I have not been able to get past them on my own. And I've admitted that, and I've decided to look into alternative therapies. You may choose to use antidepressants and other substances to deal with things, but I have not chosen that path. I don't want that path. I am choosing to do what I believe is a more holistic route. So with all of that being said, now let's talk about what happened down in Peru, shall we? So I went down there, to be honest with you. I went down to Peru because I got a message the last time that I did ayahuasca that I needed to sit with a grandfather, and I didn't really know what that meant. It was a message. And to those that have not really dealt with these medicines, that's gonna sound pretty crazy to you, but I've received things with amazing specificity when it comes to these medicines, things that I should not be able to know that I know that I got downloads from. Now that involves someone in my life. I'm not gonna disclose their name, but someone in my life, I was told that they were raped at age 9. I asked that person, I had zero way of knowing this. I asked this person if they had been raped at the age of 9, they said yes. That's amazing. Universal knowledge that there's no way I could possibly know. And don't be like, oh, well, you probably I didn't overhear it. I did not overhear this. This is information that there's no possible way that I could know. So these medicines, they're very profound, and they can heal. They can give you messages. They can help you connect to your soul and heal. Now, a lot of chronic illnesses are actually energetic based. This is something that we're discovering in science. It's not, it's on the fringes, to be honest. And it's something that I really didn't believe until I started to explore this stuff myself. Now, let's talk about what my miracle healing is, what I experienced when I was down in Peru. My intention, and intentions are very important inside these settings. My intention was to go down with divine surrender, meaning I'm not really trying to control logically what happens in my life anymore. I am connected to my soul, and whatever my soul's mission is, I'm going to follow that. And if my intuition, my connection to my soul says go do that thing, I am going to go do that thing, because it knows best. It knows better than my logical mind, right? Now, all that being said, I went down with the intention of divine surrender, and I didn't really know what I was going to get out of this experience. Really, this retreat, though, was supposed to be about a men's retreat about the divine connection between the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and working through that. So it was only men that came here with that focus. And yeah, we want to have a good time in Peru. But my specific intention was divine surrender. Now, on Monday, so we did 4 ceremonies, right? And on Monday was the first one. I'm gonna give you spark notes, okay? These are 12 to 14 hour ceremonies, honestly. But one of the main things that I picked up is I had carried a lot of resentment for my parents and some of the choices that they made pertaining to my life that I did not agree with, that I knew were not healthy for me, and honestly contributed to my depression, being suicidal, all of this kind of stuff that I went through in my teens. Now, what I realized on Monday was that I actually wasn't angry with my parents. I was angry with myself, but like my little self, little Jake, we'll call him for the rest of this video. So little Jake, I was upset with him. I was resentful of him because he wasn't strong enough. He wasn't brave enough. He wasn't able to speak up in a way that was heard. And I was angry and resentful at him that he couldn't be that person. And so I realized I was angry at him, and all the projection that I put upon my parents was really my anger at my younger self, my like little Jake. Now, I'm gonna jump forward. So we did another ayahuasca ceremony while hiking around Machu Picchu, which was fantastic. It was amazing. Machu Picchu is amazing, and we can talk about that at a later date. But on Wednesday, so after the second Wachuma ceremony, we did a breath work with a man, Gio. His work is elemental breath work. It's a system that he's created and combining different modalities, and I had never done it before, but I decided to go all in. Breathwork can be extremely powerful, transformational, and even psychedelic in its very nature. Look up holotropic breathwork. It's gonna blow your mind if you've never done this kind of stuff. Now, in that breathwork, by the end of it, I had a realization that made me cry for 20 to 30 minutes straight, and I could not stop. And I don't cry. Like, the number of times I've cried in the past 5 years can be counted on like one hand. Now, what I saw inside of that breath work, what I felt, I came face to face with little Jake, that young part of me. And he was so sad. He was crying and he was scared. And what I realized in that moment is that I was so angry, so resentful at my younger self for not being brave enough, courageous enough, strong enough, that I actually locked little Jake, my inner child, deep inside of myself. I caged him up and forgot he even existed. I forgot that part of myself. I forgot an element of myself, my innocence. And I decided to be brave and strong and emotionless and robotic and all of these things, because that's what I had to do to get through that process. It's what I had to do to survive at the time. And I was so sad that I did this to myself. And I realized instantly that it was true. Now, all of this might sound like very esoteric and unimportant, but here is the thing. Over the course of this week down in Peru and these 4 Wachuma ceremonies, I released something, I healed something miraculously, energetically, that I've been dealing with for 10 years. Now, this is gonna be very vulnerable for me, and I'm just gonna come out and say it. Over the past 10 years, I've had a lot of intestinal inflammation. Now, my mom has Hashimoto's, which is very similar to Crohn's. So Crohn's is a type of inflammatory bowel disease that causes inflammation in your digestive tract, which can lead to abdominal pain, severe diarrhea, fatigue, weight loss, malnutrition. This is a really serious thing, guys. Like, it can cause holes in your intestines and cause infections. And the inflammation itself is not fun. Now, I want to show you something, okay? It says Crohn's disease cannot be cured, okay? Now, Hashimoto's is kind of the same thing. It's something that you live with. It's something that you have to avoid food. You have to avoid like a lot of things in life, right? And for me, I have a ton of inflammation, a ton of inflammation inside of my intestines. It was so bad, I had to stop drinking and eating certain foods, because every single time I did, I would actually have blood in my stool. Like, I would be bleeding when I took a crap, which is a very scary thing. And I discovered it many years ago. And I discovered that if I stopped drinking alcohol, if I stopped eating certain food, that I didn't really have to deal with it. But I always had this intestinal pain, that was kind of evanescent. Like it fluctuates with the food that I ate. Now, after I had this realization with Wachuma, after I had confronted this part of myself, I had this knowingness that there was something different in my intestines. Something had changed. Something had released. And I mean, it's nothing short of a miracle. But I no longer have these issues. I just don't. I have no intestinal pain. And so far from what I can tell, I don't have these food sensitivities anymore. I haven't drank alcohol in like many years. And just yesterday, I was in the gym. I got back and a friend said, "Hey, I want to have you on the podcast. We're doing an episode called Whiskey and Whatever. You have to drink a glass of a whiskey and we talk about things." And he wanted to talk about ayahuasca, so we did. And something told me, you do this as an act of faith. Do this because you're healed. Now, whiskey was the thing that caused me the most pain out of all alcohols. I've avoided it like the plague. So I thought it was really interesting that this opportunity came up, and something said to me, take it. So I invited him over. We recorded a podcast, and I had no intestinal pain, no cramping, no bloating. It's now over 24 hours later, and I still have not experienced any intestinal or blood in my stool. I don't know what to make of it. Well, I know what to make of it. I healed something energetically that I had been holding on to for 15 years. And it's gone. I've healed it. I've integrated it. And it's hard for my logical brain to really wrap itself around it, because this is not what most of science talks about, but I guarantee it's true. And this is something that I felt like I needed to share with you, because my ultimate purpose, guys, is essentially to build better men, to build better human beings. And this is something that is working for me. It's working with me. It's medicine. It's not something I do for fun. It's not actually fun, but it's healing parts of me. It's letting me let go of past traumas and things that are holding me back, things that are causing me pain, dis-ease, illness. And this is a journey that I'm on. It's a part of my life now, and I'm going to be honest and open with everything that I do inside of my life on this channel, because I know that when I share these things, it's going to help some of you. Some of you may disagree. Some of you may unsubscribe, and that's okay. But it's going to help some of you. You're going to look into things. You're going to be more curious. Maybe you'll watch just a documentary and explore it a little bit more. And if so, I've done my job, sending you on your own healing path, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, educationally, all of these elements. Anyways, I love you guys so much. This is just the start. I honestly think I'm going to continue making content around, these medicines and this aspect of my life, because I mean, it matters to me. It matters a lot to me, and I think it should matter to you. If you're dealing with any type of pain or illness inside your body, you should be looking into these things. That's all I got.